Hello. Well, today we're just going to solve 5 questions, and in all of these questions, we're going to simplify. So simplifying something is writing it in a simpler way. That's basically it. So this should be a relatively short video, but at the same time, I'll take a little bit longer on some sections because this is really useful for later on. In later grades, a lot of students get tripped up on these ideas because they don't learn them properly in the earlier grades, or they forget them. So we'll take as much time as we need to work out these 5 questions. Okay, so the first one, how do you write this in a simpler way? You've got 2 pronumerals, A and A, and they're multiplied together. You write this as A with a little 2 up here, which is called A squared. So this means the same thing. The reason there's a 2 up here is because there's 2 A's. And if it was A times A times A, that is written as A with a little 3 up here. And I'm sure you get the idea. We can keep going. All right, so that one is done. Easy. B over B. Now, this is the same as... there's a similar idea to if I have 2 over 2. Now remember that 2 over 2 is the same as 2 divided by 2. And what does dividing actually mean? It means how many times can I fit 2 into 2? And hopefully you can see that I can only fit 2 once into 2. So the answer to that is 1. So actually, if you've got the same thing on the top and the bottom of a fraction, like this, that's b divided by b. It's like saying how many times do I fit b into b? The answer is going to be 1. And I want you to think about this in terms of every time you have a variable that's the same on the top and the bottom, you can actually cancel it out. And when you're cancelling it out, that means you're replacing it with 1. Okay, so that'll come up in question number 5. So we'll get to that. But done. Okay, when you are multiplying 2 terms, and the terms have coefficients, which is these numbers, and also variables, D and C, you have to multiply, you do it in 2 steps. So the first step is you multiply the numbers. So 3 times 4 is 12. The second step is you multiply the letters. Now, I can't simplify C, D anymore, but so I just have to write the C 12 times C and 12 times D. But, I mean, D is first here, but we're going to put it in alphabetical order. 12 times C times D. Keep in mind that C times D is the same as D times C. It's just like saying 2 times 3 equals 3 times 2. It doesn't matter which order you put them in. And so people have decided to write all of these in alphabetical order because it's nice and neat, and it's just better, you know? That line wasn't very good. Let's try again. All right. Now, number 4. This should be fairly simple. No, actually, this one's a little bit harder. Now, for this one, you need to use one idea that we've already talked about, which is I've got E divided by E here, and that means E divided by E is 1, so I can cancel it out. It's just the same as timesing the whole thing by 1. And when you times something by 1, it stays the same, doesn't it? I mean, if you got 2 times 1, then it's just 2. So you don't even need the 1. That's why we just cross them out, and we're not even writing a 1 there. Because if you times something by 1, it just stays the same. So we don't need to write the 1. Okay, so now we're left with 4f and 4f divided by 6. And Now the f is not going to simplify with any, there's no f down here to cancel it out, so that f is just going to stay there. And then we get to 4 over 6. And 4 over 6, you need to, this is just the same as simplifying fractions any other way, but seeing as we learnt, if you're in year 7, we learnt this year. So you remember you need to make an equivalent fraction where the numbers are smaller. And to do that, you have to find a common factor, or the highest common factor that you can, of 4 and 6, and divide 4 and 6 by that common factor. And there's not many factors of 4. I mean, it's just 4 and 1 and 2. The factors of 6, there's not many of that either. 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. That's about it. So out of the numbers that I just listed, hopefully you figured out that the highest common factor is 2. So I have to divide top and bottom by 2. Let's do a little divide by 2 here. And then I get 2 over 3. So the answer is 2f over 3. That's it. So it wasn't so hard after all. There we go. Okay. Now we've got 3 times g divided by h. How do we do that? So hopefully you're working out that there's something that you've seen before, which is g times g. What's that? That has to be g with a little 2 up the top, because there's 2 of them and they're times together, which is called g squared. By the way, the reason it's squared is because if you've got a square and the side length is 2, then the area of that square is 2 times 2, which is 2 squared. That's why they call it squared. Anyway. So we've got the 3. The 3, there's no other numbers here, so we're just going to have a 3 in the end somewhere here. G times g is g squared. G with a little 2 up there. And we're dividing by h. So it's better to write your answers, your final answers, with the as a fraction like this, over h. And we haven't really simplified this last one, but you can't simplify it any further. Well, we've simplified it a little bit. We've written g times g as g squared, and we've done over h, which isn't really simplifying it, it's just making it nice and neater. All right, that's basically it for today. So hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.